NSFAS says it will no longer be communicating directly with students via SMS channels during the 2019 academic year. NSFAS has advised students to only use the myNSFAS online self-service portal to view application status or any other information relating to funding. In studio with us from Cape Town today is Administrator of NSFAS, Dr. Randall Carolissen, to give us more details on why this decision was taken. A very good evening to you. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us, Dr. Carolissen.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Let's first start with what the primary reason behind the abortion of the SMS communication is.
Well, especially with the festive season, we saw an increased traffic of fake news, and we also saw our NSFAS beneficiaries being solicited to provide PIN numbers and cell phone details, and that all points to scams being planned as soon as we start our allowance payments in 2019. So we took the prudent step to shut down all our SMS communications, and we will now henceforth only be communicating through official channels.
So at what point will you start communicating with students? Because I know that one of those fake SMSs relates to when registration will open.
Well, registration application is closed on the 30th of November. We are busy processing. In fact, we've processed 95% of the 410,000 applications that we received, and we have approved already so far 250,000. As you know, we are busy with the review process of all those that were rejected because of wrong information, because of mismatched data, because of wrong SASA status. People become confused between recipients and beneficiaries. And so we're working through the additional 100,000 that we have initially rejected, but which we are now reviewing. So we hope by next week we will start to communicate. Of course, we will communicate once we receive registration data from institutions, because then only students become fully funded. But at the moment we are determining the eligibility status, and it is looking good. This is the best situation that we've been in for many years.
Walk us through that process for anybody who hasn't applied yet and somebody who is hoping to apply on registration. What does it look like? What exactly happens?
So as I said, the registration process has closed on the 30th of November. What we will consider is if applicants that have not previously applied, apply through institutions. So when they go and register at a university or a TVET college, then that university or college can approach us with a view to consider new applicants. As we all know, that the application levels for TVET colleges are still rather on the low side, and therefore we leave this option open. We are very encouraged with the university application that has been saturated, so that process went extremely well.
So this myNSFAS online self-service, who will be able to access this? I'm wondering if people in rural areas will have any difficulties at all.
So upon application, you would have received a PIN number. We are aware that there might be difficulties with people in far-flung areas, in rural areas, but it's easy to access our website. It's free of charge to access your My account, and also our toll-free number is free of charge. Now, what is important to note is that we find that most students, by far, very high numbers, have access to cell phone technology. In fact, that's how we communicate with the SMSs, and therefore they can get access to our toll-free numbers and our website. And we would encourage that rather to make sure that your website and your information is secure. We are also encouraging students to begin to look at opening bank accounts, because then we can deal with them directly as opposed through cell phone mechanisms to alert them and to pay out their allowances through cell phones, which is very risky, I should add.
I'll get to the issue of bank accounts and fraudsters in just a moment, because there were several incidents reported in the past couple of years. But for somebody who has then become eligible for NSFAS funding, that is easy enough for you to communicate with them. But there are those who may either not be watching or have been exposed to your campaigns to tell students that you won't be identifying or you won't be talking to them through SMS. What do you tell them to look out for so that they're not duped?
So we will make use of social media to drive students to go and look at their accounts. So we will make announcements through social media, but without specific details, so that students become aware that they must go to their My account, and on that My account they will see different statuses. You will see approved, you might see rejected, you might see under review, or you might see further documents outstanding. And therefore we encourage rather that mechanisms. Now we know that we're sacrificing a lot of ease with the abandonment of the SMS campaign, But unfortunately, the risk is just too high, and we are talking about significant amounts of money.
Have you been able to identify any of these fraudsters who have been behind this misinformation campaign? And in cases where students have already sent their details, what recourse is available for them?
Well, they should contact us if they're already been contacted by fraudsters. But we have an internal forensic campaign. As you know, a part of the administrator's duty is to clean up the internal administration. So that is underway for the last 4 months that I've been there. And we have contacted the authorities. So there is an investigation going on. And if we find these people, they will be brought to book.
Now let's talk about NSFAS itself. It experienced some problems with money being erroneously, millions of rands being erroneously being deposited into the accounts of some students. What has been the final report on what happened there?
Well, look, the specific student that 14 million rand was allocated to, she spent less than R1 million off that, so 13 million rand was recovered. But that's exactly the control that we are now going to impose, is that this was going to take control of all disbursement activities. In the past, some institutions had third parties that disbursed on their behalf, and therefore it was difficult to monitor and to, of course, to control. And that is why NSFAS is taking full control of all disbursement processes, and we are making sure that we don't bend to commercial interests. So commercial advertising and free brochures and vouchers, all that type of arrangements must be done outside of our chain. So we are tightening up, and we are encouraging students to open up the bank account so that when we go forward and we have difficulty in getting the funds to them, that we could use the bank channel as a means. That is also much safer because it will be biometrically controlled. The sooner we move off the cell phone environment as a means of payment, the better for all of us.
So that notwithstanding the fact that you're tightening up, I'm still curious as to what is the final report on what went wrong in those incidents, because that 40 million rand was not the first incident. There have been other incidents. What was found to have been the problem?
It was, as I said, lack of controls that were in place, financial controls, and also through third-party disbursements that had occurred. So that had all been tightened up. That final report is with the Minister. I've seen it, and the law will now take its course, and there will be a court case on that particular matter, unfortunately so. Where we find maladministration and wasteful expenditure of funds, as was detailed in the AG report, which was given to me when I started in August, we are tightening that up. We are putting in place the necessary controls so that this don't reoccur.
So going biometric, how will that help you in future?
Well, biometrics will be, then we will only be paying to people that are associated with the card through the biometric system, whether that be through fingerprints or retina printing, imprints, but that we make sure that the person that the money is designated for is actually the person also that withdraw this money. So it's going to be much more tighter, and I mean there are examples of how one can use biometrics very effectively. We have been in talks with banks, and they are quite keen to be partnering us on this particular project.
Thank you so much for your time. That's the Administrator of NSFAS, Dr. Randall Carolissen.